Jedi Survivor is the newest game to come out that I played day one. Now, it's been about 2 weeks since Jedi Survivor came out as we're recording this. Now that I've been able to finish it at my own pace, and have thought about it some more, I think I'm ready to share what I've experienced. Fallen Order, the game prior to Jedi Survivor, was a crazy game on release. It had a vastly different playstyle compared to any of the recent Star Wars games at the time, and it wasn't exactly a revolutionary game, but it had showed that Respawn Entertainment had a story rooted in the Star Wars franchise that could serve both new and old Star Wars fans alike. The game followed the story of a lone Jedi named Cal Kestis, who was trying to avoid the suffocating grip of the Empire after the massacre that was the famous Order 66. Cal becomes the Jedi he was trained to be and stops the Empire from their goal of obtaining the location to these so-called Force-sensitive children that was kept in a device called a holocron. It looks like during the time between the games, which is about 5 years I believe, the group Cal had been working with throughout Fallen Order had separated to fight the Empire in whatever ways they saw fit. To avoid spoilers for now, I want to talk about what has changed in terms of gameplay. There are 5 stances in this game, and stances are basically just the way that Cal will choose to wield his lightsaber. The dual-wield lightsaber is when Cal separates his one lightsaber to make 2. In terms of speed, this is the fastest stance you can use in the game, and is very helpful for harder content. The 4th stance, Cal wields a gun while using the single-bladed lightsaber. This is the stance with the most range. And finally, the 5th stance is a crossguard lightsaber. It's kind of like the one Kylo Ren wields, but it's a Buster Sword. Overall, having all these new stances is pretty awesome. It's just that they really wasted the crossguard stance. What a fumble. I will note that dual wield is absolutely necessary for the Jedi Grandmaster difficulty, which is the hardest. I think it might be near impossible to do it without, because you can cancel your attacks into block while using it, and no other saber can do that, despite the fact that the dual-bladed lightsaber is supposedly the defensive stance. Another new mechanic is taming. You can tame animals, but other than just letting you get across some floating islands, it's pretty useless. It's used very lightly in the game, so let's just move on to partners. Partners are the companions that fight with Cal against any of the enemies you may encounter. It is very underused, but I feel like it's coming from a place of they are too powerful. Since most of these battles you're always outnumbered, and having that one extra person there always makes a huge difference. They only have one move, and they're pretty passive for the most part, but they can take aggro, they can attack on their own. They're pretty good. Force Rifts are definitely some sort of new challenge room that you can enter, but it's rooted in the Star Wars canon, I guess. I think the Force Rifts are actually pretty awesome. But other than that, it's a perfectly great distraction that does reward you in the end with, I think, just 1 or 2 skill points, which are always welcome. One of my favorite updates is the new permabuff crystals. These Force crystals that you can find around the map, there's a ton of them. They're easy to find, but most importantly, you only need 1. They replace the previously annoying permabuff system that plagued Fallen Order. That system, it's gone. You only need 1 to get either health, force, or a skill point. But there actually is one more option, and that is a completely new mechanic. The perks. Perks are a new system that was integrated, and it's pretty much just passive buffs. These buffs, while not being very significant until you get to New Game Plus, if I'm being honest, we'll get to that one later, are pretty great. It's not like they leaned heavily into this perks system, but hey, doesn't hurt to have just an extra little push. And now we move on to my absolute favorite upgrade to Jedi Fallen Order. There are now stim containers everywhere. I think I ended the game with like 8. 8 max stims. And that's 5 more than I had in the previous game. It is so helpful to have 8 stims when every boss on Grand Jedi Master is just two-shotting or one-shotting you. Now then, minor spoilers, this is going to be the last one that I wrote down. Skip ahead now. Seer gameplay. You get to play as Seer in this game. It is Cal's new master, I guess. She was in the last game previously disconnected from the Force after turning to the dark side for a little bit, so she completely cut herself off, and now she is back, all forced up, I guess. You get to piece up Darth Vader, and unfortunately, she does die. But it was awesome, despite the fact that there's no reason why Seer should have been, like, destroying him, because she definitely did. I'm probably playing a clip now. Yikes, man. What happened to that dude being, like, the scariest Sith in all of history? Jesus. Anyway, let's move on. Because despite most of these additions improving the game overall, there are some not so major issues that plague it, but don't worry, the major issues will come later. Or at least the major issue. I marked down only one. You could probably guess what that is. Alright, here we go. Minor problems with the game. The dodge system, grounded, is so bad. Oh my god. Why are you able to dodge once, right? And you'll have these iframes, just a little bit, not enough to be safe from anything. But then you can hit it again, right? But why would you ever do that? Because the second hit makes you go just a little bit further, but it's not enough. It's not enough to justify the lack of iframes. Minor gripe, of course, just don't use the second dodge. Well, yeah, but why is it there in the first place if it is only there to just suck ass? On to the next one. The non-dual wield lightsaber blocking/dodging is terrible. Oh my god. So, ignoring the double dash sucking, you can't really dodge out of animations anymore, because they're not as quick as they used to. But in the previous game, I remember you used to be able to pretty much just block out of any animation, and that would make it, I wouldn't say it was skill-based, but it definitely added a little bit of skill, because you had to react to attacks when you saw them while you were attacking. In Jedi Survivor, you can no longer do that. The only saber that has that ability to cancel out of attacking animations with a block is the dual-wield saber. And as I have explained, the dual-wield saber has the least amount of block meter for all of the sabers. It cannot block for long. Another minor gripe, the janky physics with the cutscene attacks and corpses. Obviously, corpse physics have never been perfect. I don't think they ever will. But the cutscene attacks, come on. I don't want to see my character fucking slide across the map just so he can get into position. Now then, the major issue with this game. We all know this one. It was trending pretty much everywhere when it came out. I don't think it was really possible for anyone to get over 40 frames a second and it being stable. Now, this issue was made better pretty much after like 3 days. They had a optimization patch that fixed it somewhat. I got over 60 after that because I messed around with the settings just a bit more. But obviously it was very humbling to have to turn down settings on a game. A few hours before this recording, the game got a huge patch. It's like 115 gigabytes. It says that they have updated the performance by a lot. There was a good chunk of things in there. But with that out of the way, it's time to finish talking about the story. So, major spoilers are ahead. I will put a little stamp that you can go to. Alright? Alright. The story starts off with a captured, world-weary Cal Kestis in Coruscant to steal military data from the Senator, whose name is Daho Sijan. No idea who he is, or if I even pronounced that right, but it is what it is. So, Cal finds a droid named Z, from a time before the Order had fallen. The droid knows of a location named Tanalorr that is inaccessible to anyone who doesn't have a special compass created by Z's master. So, Cal, throughout the rest of the game, tries to obtain the compass while keeping it out of the Empire's hands. However, in a lab he finds a one-armed Jedi named Dagan Gera. Dagan Gera immediately turned to the dark side after being freed from his little cryopod or whatever. He was in juice that made him immortal or something. He did this because he thought the Order had betrayed him specifically for not protecting Tanalorr, which was his obsession, as you later come to find out. And it was somehow found out, I don't know how exactly, but in a cutscene that obviously went into cutscene mode, the Order was like showing up to Tanalorr. But if Tanalorr is so protected, then how did they find it? Skipping ahead, once Dagan is finally defeated, all is thought to be well when one of Cal's closest mercenary buddies from the start of the game, Bode, betrays the group and tells the Empire of their whereabouts. This results in many of the group that Cere had built up over the years to perish in the raid of the Empire, as well as Cere herself from Vader. So Cal, furious now, ends up finding an alternate way to Tanalorr and pursues Bode there. And Bode thought he had escaped, but unfortunately not. So Cal confronts him, and after a little bit of talking, he gives him one final chance to surrender Tanalorr and share it with anyone who is trying to flee from the Empire, alright? But Bode is not having it, so they get in a big fight, and at the very end, Bode is given a final chance, and unfortunately blows it. So Cal has to strike him down for good. Now, let's talk about the story. You might notice how I didn't mention Bode at the very start, even though he was so very important at the end, right? It's because he wasn't important at the start. They made it look like it was just some random dude that Cal meets and is teaming up with to take down the senator and steal the military information like this is some friggin' World of Warships subreddit or something. I don't know. This twist came out of absolutely nowhere. Oh my god. There was like one line of dialogue that could have possibly hinted that Bode knew more than he was letting on. But like, at the time, I thought it was just because Bode was like, hey Cal, you should just like live your life, man. Go have sex with your hot space witch or whatever. Despite the major issues this game has, I just cannot help but love the combat and the use of familiar Star Wars material. Like with Vader there, getting pieced up. Oh my god, poor Vader. Anyway, the one thing that does bring it down is absolutely the twist. Zero build-up. And then, of course, the frogs. We all know about the frogs, just like we all know about the optimization. So let's not talk about it any more than we should. I absolutely am going to give this game an 85%. It was good. It was really great. I liked the exploration. The worlds, although I didn't really talk about them, of course, they were stunning. They looked awesome. I just love the visuals of the game. The puzzles, I might have been a little smooth-brained on some of them, but hey, that's not the game's fault. That's mine, because I'm friggin' stupid. It is what it is. With that being said, make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this review. It took a lot of work. And make sure to comment if you actually liked this game, if you played it yourself. Love you all. Have a good morning, good day, good night, good evening, and goodbye.